How's it going? Mike Neumann here with Midwest Muscle Media at the OCB Midwest States. Running to Layne Norton. Layne just got done with his rookie year. Layne, how did it go for you?
Went great. My goal coming into the year was top 5 at my first pro shows, and got that goal. And managed to win my class at my first show, the Pro International. So that was a nice surprise, and I was really excited about that. And then, but just to kind of, the pro stage is so, natural bodybuilding is getting so deep now.
It is. Yeah.
And standing backstage at the Orton Cup, when you're an amateur and you look backstage and say, well, I can beat that guy, I can beat that guy. I'm standing backstage at the Orton, I don't know if I can beat anybody. You know what I mean? So to come out to, you just ask to give yourself a chance, to give yourself an opportunity to be up there with the best. And to be in the top 5, I was in the first call out each time. I got to give myself that chance. I got to give myself that opportunity, and that was just awesome. So you realize it was kind of tough winning my class in the first one, and then going to 4th and 5th for subsequent shows. But at the same time, the level of competition stepped up, and so for me, again, I'm always just trying to compete against myself. Whatever happens, happens. And so it was a good experience. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, at least your first time out to take first place in the tall class, your first pro show, that's an accomplishment nonetheless, and your first time out, you can't ask for much better than that. Next up for you was the Kaspari Pro. Now, do you think if you would have, you came with a different package, it seemed like at the night show as opposed to the morning show. Do you think if you would have brought the same package in the morning as you did at night, maybe you would have placed a little bit higher?
It's hard to say just because, the other guys out there were a little tough. And the level of competition was definitely stepped up. The head judge told me, he said, if you would look like at that show how you did at the Kansas City show, he was in Kansas City, he wasn't judging, but he was watching. He said, if I had looked like that, he said, I personally would have had you up much higher in probably the top 2.
Okay.
But that doesn't say, that's just one judge's opinion, and
yeah,
the other judges may still have me 4th or 5th or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where, I look back at it, I kind of have a different perspective now. It's actually good that happened to me because I learned more about my body. I learned more about, needing to listen to my body more and, not just sticking rigidly to a game. Because I looked at the pictures from the morning show, and I'm like, man, that looks like what I looked like when I was an amateur because I was so flat.
Yeah.
And then at the night show, I looked just completely different, and actually that's maybe the best I ever looked. Just looking at the pictures, I was really full, really tight, and so at the end of the day, I'm actually, I'm pleased because I got some awesome photos out of it. I look great. Obviously, the 4th place, you want to go higher, but at the same time, those weren't slouches up there. The place in front of me, the first 3, so I give all the props to them. They nailed it.
Oh yeah, you had some good competition you were going up against. Now, it seems to be the consensus in the IP this year is conditioning. You got guys like Dekalb, Valentine Azuga, of course, Philip Ricardo, Tommy Jeffers. There's got to be a fine line between too much conditioning, not enough size, and too much size, not enough conditioning. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm a conditioning guy. I favor conditioning. I just love that sharp, crisp look it has, But I do agree, it has to be to a certain point, I think we need a little bit more balance in terms of we can't get too conditioning heavy.
Right.
I still think if you're going to win a show in natural bodybuilding, you've got to be sharp. You've got to be sharp.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But, when you're talking about, little differences in conditioning, but somebody has a clear advantage in symmetry and size, then we need to use our heads a little bit, But, again, you're dealing with a judging panel who's 7 different people, and, you may end up, sometimes, Dr. Joe had one of the best quotes I heard in terms of the pro division. He said, in the amateurs, the difference between 1st and 5th is huge. It's 50%. In the pros, the difference between 1st and 5th is 3%. You know what I mean? And it's just a little bit of difference in fullness or conditioning or symmetry or whatever it is, because everybody's so bunched up together.
Yeah.
And that's why you see judging scorecards, they're all over the place. Somebody might have somebody in 1st, and the other person has them in 4th.
I've seen that happen before.
So yeah, it's just one of those things, and then once you add them up and do the statistics, sometimes it just doesn't fall together. When all those things are added up and you drop highest and lowest, sometimes things look funky at the end.
Yeah, you certainly can.
And also what other people don't realize is one time you'll see sometimes you'll see like a class where a guy will place in front of another guy, and then they've crossed over into another class, but then they flip-flop.
That's jacked up.
And they think, they say, well, oh, well, it's got to be, it's got to be some kind of political thing. Well, not really. What happens is you're being compared against different people.
Yeah.
And so that changes the absolute number of your scoring. And so that can change that can change things. So, that's, I don't know how you fix that, but it's one of those things where sometimes what we see intuitively doesn't play out the placings that come across.
Yeah, something got to look into for sure. And I just want to get your view on this. Now, like we were talking about before, the Gaspari Pro, you look a lot better at the night show than the morning show. Now, what if say half the judging took place at the night show, like some organizations are starting to do now? That would have helped you out. Don't you think that's something good, that's a good direction for an organization to go into? Half the judging to take place at the night show, because after pre-judging, a lot of guys think the show's over, let's go out and eat some pizza. Well, it's not necessarily the case, especially at the pro level. You got to maintain that conditioning all day long when it matters the most.
I'm kind of two minds on it. I see that argument, and I agree with that argument. I think you're a professional, and you should look good for the night show. At the same time, it's like, you know what, you should look good at the night. Even if there's not judged, you're posing routines, there's people out there, and you're a professional, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Come in and you want to come in at your best. I know for me, I had this guest posing tonight. I still dined hard this week. Because it was hard for me not to eat after the last show because I'm tired. I've been dieting 33 weeks, but I want to look good on the stage. I got an opportunity to present myself and get a guest posing. That's a huge deal for me.
It is.
And so be a professional. You know what I mean? So I think I'm of one mind that I like the idea. At the same time, it's like, you know what? Even if it's not judged, you should still come in at your best.
Yeah.
So I think I'd be okay either way, because no matter what, everybody has to deal with the same rules. It's not like it gives one person an advantage or another person.
Yeah.
I'm not even opposed to doing it over 2 days like they do in the IFBB. I
That'd be something.
Because again, it's making you. It actually, if you think about it, the competitors have to work harder in terms of like how they peak themselves, because it makes it more complex. So maybe you actually get more separation amongst the competitors doing something like that. It's an idea. You never know.
Something to be discussed.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't just dismiss it straight off. Yeah.
So your first year's out of the way. What's next for Layne Norton?
I'm going to try and I'm going to let my wife cash in all her brownie points that she's accumulated, and they are many.
There's a lot out there.
So I will be doing her beck and call, whatever she needs for the next 3 to 6 to 9 months in terms of house projects and those sorts of things. But obviously, really excited to get into an off season. I'm probably looking at taking another 2 years off to really make improvements, because I feel like, okay, I placed top 5.
Wow.
I feel like at all my pro shows, I feel like I'm right there. I need another little push to push me into the zone where I'm placing top 3 at every show and in contention. So I really want to, I'm going to take 2 years off, make good improvements, I'm going to do some more powerlifting meets. I felt like last off season I really found out what worked well for me, because I feel like my legs and back were completely different this time than they did previously. So I'm like, okay, well, I can just get a little more, because they still need a little more. So I feel like if I can keep making those improvements, I'll be in a good spot. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get back, lifting heavy and competing in powerlifting and having some fun and having some energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Layne Norton. Look for him on a stage in a couple of years. In the meantime, in powerlifting, Mike Neumann, Midwest Muscle Media. We're out of here.